Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody in between and all over the world, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome you here to the hallowed fields of Europe's premier sporting campus, the University of Limerick, and I am Lorcan Murray, delighted to bring you some top quality action on the first day of the World Masters Ultimate Club Championships, and I could not be happier to be joined by the big man from that big state, the lone star in the commentary booth, Bjorn Shea. How you feeling today?
I'm feeling great, Lorcan. I love the Emerald Isle and I love being with you.
And what a thing we get to be together for as we're watching Masterclass, a team just filled with people who are legends when I first took up the sport, going up against Woolly Mammoth, who come out of Florida, America, and have a couple of legends amongst their own ranks.
It's quite ironic that they are called Woolly Mammoth because a Woolly Mammoth never even made it to Florida. I think they stopped right around Oregon, but you know, good for them.
I mean, dysentery takes us all out, you know, so it's tough to make that trip all the way across as the big pull goes up and we have the first play being fielded down the field and sent it into the middle and the waiting hands of Brendan Perales. And we will see how they navigate these conditions. A beautiful shot straight down the line, bobbled a little bit. But Chernovsky gets it, and a huge bid. This is fantastic stuff from Woolly Mammoth. Somewhat taking their time, but trying to be a bit exciting here, Bjorn.
Yeah, Brendan Perales was a great handler when I started playing about 20 years ago, and he was the absolute class of handlers.
As we
Florida.
see a huge shot go up, big bids, 2 catches, and it's caught on the second one. Fantastic read by Ryan Chard.
That's absolutely amazing, and that's going to be a big point through this game because I don't know if the viewers at home can tell, but it is quite windy, and that was straight into the wind. So every point going that direction is going to count twice.
It's an absolutely massive one. They started on offense. They started with the wind going into their face, losing the flip, but backing their own players. All right, fine, have the wind. We'll take offense. We'll score on the opening point, and now they reverse the pressure, Bjorn.
Absolutely amazing. And yeah, like I said, Brendan Perales he's pretty much the greatest handler I can think of to come out of Florida. He was amazing for a number of great teams. I think Tempo and yeah, all sorts of great teams. So yeah, great to see him out here, still playing, still looking absolutely fit, and still ready to rip it.
So we are already seeing the skill, but also the tactical news of some of these players as he got the great read and was able to follow up the play. That kind of inherent ability and knowledge, instinct, shall we even say, Bjorn, is something that really defines these older teams as that one rolls out the back of the end zone. And another titan of Irish Ultimate, Mark Early, makes his way to pick up the disc.
I was just listening to an interview with young Ferdia Rogers, who was talking about how Mark Early taught him how to play.
I mean, Mark Early might have even taught him how to play in the schools where he got it started. So he was a teacher, I believe, in Gonzaga.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where he taught, and a lot of the real stars, as we see a big flick shot go up. Really well read. Excellent stuff by Jesus Acuna, a man who's been playing in Dublin for a long time now. It's become something of a feature of that scene. As there, another shot launches across. And can they get it a second time? But the second coming of Jesus doesn't arrive quite yet.
Maybe on the third day.
Bit too early, perhaps. But I like that shot. I like that ambition by Pierce. Although, unfortunately, something blunted there. As we see Woolly Mammoth making their way and an opportunity to shoot down the field. This is going to be the first real chance we see at downwind offense, Bjorn.
Correct. We'll see how they handle it.
Once again, that's Perales. As Bjorn was saying, one of the best handlers. Oh, and that one goes straight into the waiting hands of the Irish defender. That's David Perry.
It's a good thing he didn't have hands because he might have caught that.
Gutierrez centers into the disc. Pierce spreading it around, a little bit of a bobble and not quite corralled by Walkenauer. And there goes the big shot. We'd expect to see a lot of that from the team playing downwind. A big time throw, because Huck and D, very legitimate attack strategy by Chernovsky. So, Bjorn, do you think this Floridian team, obviously they're not going to have a huge amount of experience in the rain, but how adept at dealing with the wind do you think they'll be?
Well, Florida's actually pretty windy. For instance, when Double Wide won their national championship, they were dealing with a hurricane. It gets a lot of Atlantic winds, especially in the summertime when the American summer, or the American Frisbee season is. So it's a pretty windy place, actually.
So we'll see if that puts them in good stead as Marco Early puts that wily acumen to use, gets free up the line, centers it back into the middle. Masterclass just taking their time, not forcing anything. Walk an hour. Huge layout bid, but still collected. That's the danger with these conditions, and the ground skim doesn't count. That's a turnover.
That was a great throw, but yeah, he was honest about it skipping straight off the ground.
Would have been difficult to be deceptive at that point, but you still got to respect them immediately playing and going. Chernovsky searches. Big arcing backhand break, very nicely done. Bam brace down the line and collected for the score, I believe. Yep, that looks like it's going to be up with Vats picking up the score. So a 2-0 lead early for Woolly Mammoth. And exactly what you were talking about, Bjorn. You get that upwind, it's basically worth double.
Right, yeah. We'll see if it'll probably take half the game for them to get another upwind again, because they're going to be always on the back foot. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. They do have the athleticism. I think they probably have the athleticism edge, but they have to get the disc back and they have to go straight into the wind. So we'll see what happens.
I am intrigued to see how these players who have so much experience adapt their style of play, because something that I think is more common at the younger levels of the sport is the ability to be caught up in the emotion, be caught up in the moment, and kind of just keep hammering on that same nail the same way. I'd expect these teams, because most of them are coaches for the most part, like teams filled with coaches, to be far more acute with their ability to make changes in game. As we see,
sure. So more cognizant to the changes and adaptable. But at the end of the day, it's athletes who make the plays.
Absolutely, as we see Ireland looking to make some plays of their own and get back down this pitch. Back into the middle, Kylie puts a big arcing one up, but unfortunately I think the wind carried that a bit further than he intended to. David McAllister, known as Super Dave in certain circles, just wasn't quite there to connect with it.
Yeah, that wasn't intended to be a hook. That was intended to be just a long swing, so that just got away from him. We'll see what these guys can do into the wind.
It is an unenviable position to be in. Now that is an absolutely sensational throw. Stephen Pulos just get with the break and tries a huge layout bid. This is some high octane stuff coming out of Woolly Mammoth right now.
So Pulos is one of the best huckers in the AUDL. As when I coached with the Soul a bit, we had to deal with him quite a bit on the Tampa Bay Cannons. And Pulos is an absolute premier hucker. So allowing him to get a backhand off into this wind will be devastating for the other team. Whoa. So yeah, Pulos is elite when it comes to throwing far.
They got away with one there ever so slightly. So as we see Hensley Sejour screaming across, and something I'm loving out of this Woolly Mammoth team, bear in mind this is Masters, so all these men are at their youngest 33. So that's you don't have a whole lot of cartilage left at that moment in your life, and they are still throwing themselves around. Something the wet ground of Limerick will forgive more than perhaps the dusty sands they're used to in Florida.
Yes, sunny, sunny Limerick with the wet ground.
It is a title, not a promise. As we see a bit more discussion happening. I want to take this opportunity to welcome everybody to the WFDF stream, supporting and promoting the global advancements of disc sports and spirit of the game. And a shout out to VC, outfitting the world's best Ultimate players since 1998. Also, outfitting us. The game advisors coming in, that's going to be a feature of this event. The way if you say certain things into a mirror 3 times, they then happen. I'm worried that by mentioning a hurricane, you may have invited something upon us here, Bjorn.
Well, I think they're called, I think they're just called Liams in this part of the world. You know, like typhoons in the Pacific and hurricanes in the South Atlantic. And they're just called Liams.
It's called Liams on the west coast of Ireland. I think you're right, because I have heard a lot of people complain about Liams knocking on their door late at night in the west coast.
Yeah, they're the worst.
Keeping you up, as that is a contested foul. A big thank you to the wonderful Jared O'Fergal. It's probably the first time I've ever had to say Jared's full name in my life. A lovely man, as we see Mark Fanning, the man who trained me how to play the sport, so it's his fault. Get it back to Jer. Old rivals, UCC and Trinity. Played each other a lot. And gets it down. So stuck on the sideline. McAllister, he's looking for options. He's not seeing a whole lot that he likes. I think Masterclass trying to perhaps be a bit more precise in this moment. Really focus, tune in, and get their first score of the tournament. And launch their campaign.
Yeah, you really, if they go down 3-0 into the wind, after having been 2 downwinds, it's pretty much over.
As we see that shot, a laser, but not hitting anything. So continuing in perpetuity.
Well, they got the wind behind them, so let's see what they can do on defense.
There's once again stepping up to it, that man with the big time hucks. Be interesting to see how they react. That one just a quick fall to the ground. Unfortunate. Jer's quick to pick it up. He goes to set it into the space, and collecting it for the score is McAllister. And that's a classic Trinity matchup.
All right, so we still got the Florida team up 1 break into the wind, and see what they can do from here.
So David McAllister, the man who got that score, graduated from UCD quite a long time ago, I should say, but a veteran of an old Irish club team known as Brock, which was originally Broccoli, which they then shortened during the great, we're going to start taking this serious campaign of like the 2010, 2011. It didn't go that far. Their main rivals at the time were Johnny Chimpo and the Institute for Higher Learning, which is named after exactly what you think it's named after. And they wore orange largely just to be antagonistic. So, but it's fantastic to see these veterans, these people who really stood, to quote the Irish poet John Montague, like dolmens round my childhood, the old people, and now they come out here to defend those titles.
You know,
show those skills.
Broccoli seems like one of the most serious vegetables. I don't know why they just didn't stick with it.
I had a lot of conversations about this when they made that change.
Because, I mean,
it's not like you're saying...
I'm terrified of broccoli, and because it's so serious.
As you should be. Huge shot, beautifully thrown all the way down the pitch. That's Brandon Perales looking for Chernovsky and hitting him. 1 shot, 1 score.
I think we're going to see that a lot, because that's the best thrower and clearly the most fit man on the field. So,
big time offensive weapons for the Woolly Mammoths.
Yep.
And how does that, you think, play on Masterclass's mentality right now, Bjorn? You spend so long, so many turns back and forth trying to get that first one, and then 1 throw, 1 score.
Yeah, I always lament that from as a coach. All I want for my offensive line is for the defensive line not necessarily to score, but just to give the offensive line a break. So when you only have time to come over and take 1 sip, and then you have to go back on, and, you know, because this offensive line was just on for 4 minutes, and then they got 30 seconds break, and now they have to go back on. You're really not, your legs aren't back, and so that really it tends to wear on you over time.
I very much understand the logic behind that. I do wonder if it is as relevant now because they don't have as long to cool down. Oh, as here comes a zone for the first time and responded with a massive hammer all the way to the end zone. A little bit of a hospital pass, but I like that ambition out of the hands of Luke Walkenauer.
They should have thrown it higher, really. That would have been the preferable thing.
Needed not enough air on that hammer into the sky.
The Aurora Borealis lamented that it didn't get a shot.
Oh, that's a beautiful inside-out backhand. It's gonna sit, but always drifting away from the intended receiver. Although, again, we see...
That was Pulos who's able to rip it anywhere he wants.
Such a threat as Masterclass can go in the opposite direction. Trying to set each other up. This is nicely done, although I think there's been a foul called on Dylan Layton. Dylan Layton, a bit of an American import. Fell in love with Ireland first with his time in UCC nearly 13 years ago.
Also, I want to correct myself. Pulos, well, he came up in Florida. His last time he played was in Nashville. So he's currently living in Nashville. So yeah, I didn't want to undersell the beautiful city of Nashville.
As Pete Ford looks deep, tries to send one, it's searching, and on a difficult one to read, it goes over the intended head of Jorge Gutierrez. As we see a little bit of the Venezuelan contingent of Masterclass, with long-standing training and partnership based out of Dublin primarily, but you can see representatives from all over Ireland picking up with this team for WMUCC, which you have to do, you know, if it's going to be in your home country. And they get it into the middle. So here is that danger man with the cannon on his arm. Going for a flick this time. That is not an easy grab. Very impressively taken in by Chard. Spreads it wide.
Not an easy grab, not an easy throw.
Very true, Pulos. And there it is. That's the backhand, though, you've been threatening. And that one's drifting away. But again, that's probably the most confident throw we've seen in that direction today.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful, and I'd like to see better marks from the Masterclass, because you really just can't allow a backhand like that unobjected.
If you're forcing them to flick, yeah. They just seem to be getting dragged right across the mark, as we have Mark Early on the force or on the disc.
The legend himself.
The legend himself. I believe that's Walkenauer and Gutierrez flanking him in the handling positions. Gets it to Gutierrez in the middle. Gutierrez looks downfield early, perhaps thinking about the throw before securing the catch. And there's the quick shot.
Oh, a quick D. I think there was a hand on that, stopping the goal, which is amazing.
As there is the huck in response. Chard is down there covering it up. Ford is chasing it just to put a bit of pressure on.
Definitely a punt, but that's beautiful. I love the pickup from the back of the end zone. No one expects it.
That's it, because you do not have to walk the disc to the front of the end zone. Right. You can, you don't have to. You can just pick it up and chuck it. And if they're not there getting the mark on, which again gets back to what you were saying, Bjorn, people are being very lackadaisical about putting these marks on.
Right. I think I was telling you right before the game that one of my favorite things to do during a upwind downwind game is when catching an in cut, just turning and without even looking, throwing into the wind, a backhand that has a lot of float, and just hoping that a receiver gets it, because when it's so windy like this, that it's more about getting it out there than anything.
That was another massive shot from Pulos all the way down the pitch and into the hands of Egger. I can see Bjorn shaking his head. How have they not recognized that threat yet?
He's what an amazing thrower. He is outrageous. That might have been 75 yards into this.
And sitting so perfectly. Like
into this Liam wind.
Yeah. Brett Egger was just chasing that one down, trying to do Mom, Dad, Nick, and Brandon back at home proud. He says, ultimate is his life, and this is a dream come true. Well, I think you're going to have a lot of dreams come true if you're in a competition running onto throws from Pulos.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, the Pulos single-handedly, so I mentioned he last played in Nashville. He was playing for
as we're going to get another look at this shot.
He played for the Nashville Oh my gosh!
How did
through
he get
the mark.
that off?
That's amazing.
Sorry, he plays for Nashville.
He played for Nashville when they had a franchise and he single-handedly kept them alive with his hucks.
They should have folded years before. They should have gotten in the way of the Rochester Dragons.
Yeah, exactly. Because the Soul had to play him, and man, he must have thrown 12 scores a game. Just an absolute monster. And he's pretty advanced in age, and he was out there competing with the 22-year-olds. So he keeps great care of his body, and just works hard. Great athlete.
Attributes a lot of that success to the help he gets from Prince, his beloved border collie, and Best Bud. As we're going to have one more look at this. Look at how he shoots this through the mark. Like,
absolutely ridiculous.
We've been saying you need to get more. Dylan Layton had that covered for a large part. You
can't even blame the mark there.
I mean, we still will. But as Edgar, now he called the timeout. Can he get it off Pulos? Oh, and maybe getting a little physical.
Yeah. It looks like no contest there.
Understandable. Walking hour, trying to walk through.
But it's going back to Pulos when it can.
Well,
so
they're rocking a 1-6 upwind. That's a brave formation. And there he goes. That's a lovely setup. Edgar to Pulos. Pulos looking for the quick spin and the throw across.
Absolutely beautiful. I don't know what. It's kind of a common throw these days. You must call it the fade to Dean Stupar, and it's like not a fadeaway jump shot, but it's like a fade to where you just kind of sell out, you fall over, and you know that you're going to fall farther than your mark. And Pulos just perfected that well.
How you do that and still get enough spin? Because like doing that into the wind seems very risky to me. It requires such a snap of the wrist.
I think you just he's played long enough. He understands. He's gonna aim far lower than he wants to throw it, and just anticipating the lift. So he's probably like aiming about a foot off the ground, releases it, and it's gonna lift right into his receiver's hands. So you just understand the wind. While this is a steady, a stiff wind, it's a steady wind. So it just becomes another player, the wind does.
So a fantastic score thrown from Pulos to Stupar. Stupar was the VP of the Tampa Bay Ultimate nonprofit and leadership on Uproar. So it does his community proud quite frequently back home, and he's doing them proud here on the Irish shores as well. So a very strong start for Woolly Mammoth, showing that they are not afraid to go either direction.
Not extinct yet. They are very much alive.
If anything, it seems like Masterclass are the ones falling into a bit of a tar pit.
Yes, I would not pay the YouTube fee to learn from them at the moment.
And if you don't like paying YouTube fees, then we have good news for you, because we are bringing this stream free all week long on the WFDF YouTube channel. You can also follow us on our socials. As that one bounced out of the hands of Pete Ford, unfortunate drop. And Woolly Mammoth are going to try and cash this in for an early 4-point lead, picking up the disc and getting ready. That's Chernovsky. Again, he's got a score to his name. He wants to add an assist. Perales, who already has an assist, is looking to add another one. And this is nice, patient offense. Dupel back across to Perales, and that's just a soft pop in. David Vatz gets his second score.
I don't know. So, you said Chernovsky. He's very impressive, and I can't remember where he's from, but he's a very impressive player.
So originally from Detroit.
Oh, a little Mad Cow. Okay. Mad Cow was a team from Columbus when the Detroit, Indiana, and Ohio area tried to make an open team as opposed to a co-ed team, and so they went to nationals a few times. But good player. He's very steady out there. I've been very impressed with him.
He really seems to be anchoring that offense. Anchor, something they are very well acquainted with in Tampa Bay, where he's been an anchor for several offenses in some of their teams, like you mentioned. Mad Cow, Uproar as well, Mutiny. He's got a shout out to the fans, Joy at home, as his fiance, as well as Tim, his brother, and of course, all of those cannons from Tampa Bay. He's the one out here firing right now as Woolly Mammoth shooting themselves into a 5-1 lead, and Masterclass having something of their fears realized. So hopefully they can ship up and start putting up a bit more of a fight for the home crowd. It's going to be Jer picking up the disc. Veteran out of Trinity. A little bit of friendly conversation. And he's being marked by Stupar. And Jer softly down the line. Now that's better into the hands of McAllister.
Number 27 for Masterclass currently plays for Ranelagh, doesn't he?
Is that Derek Kelleher? I believe it is. Yes, that is Derek Kelleher. He's a veteran of the University of Limerick. A lot of people attribute him, along with Limerick Jim, who's currently based out of America, as really helping get Ultimate established on this campus. And that would have been, again, 10, 12, or 12, 14 years ago. McAllister, he's got the throws, but it's just difficult to corral right now, and it slips out of the hands of Rob Kiley. So look who's picking up the disc one more time. Will they be able to react? They put Mark Fanning on him, which is the biggest player on their team, and immediately you can see that influence. Naboa couldn't get his hands around that disc because it was going high. Jer, he tries to float it out there to McAllister, who seems to be the initiation cut for a lot of what this Masterclass O-line are trying to achieve. McAllister has an option, go down the line, doesn't like the look of it, tells BD to get back out of there. And there it is for the second time score to Jer. Lovely stuff.
All right, good for Masterclass. And really with these upwind downwind games, just holding that is enough to keep momentum and, you know, stifle anything. So you never know when the upwind is going to happen for Masterclass. So as long as they keep scoring downwind, hope is always alive.
Hope springs eternal for those who dare to dream. And you're so right about that, Bjorn, because you never know just the little thing that might tip in. Maybe they go for a pull and it doesn't quite work out. It just skies out of the sideline really early. Maybe they try to reset to the middle of the pitch before, like, just hucking it down the field, and somebody turns it. You have to just keep it close and keep putting them away, because something that is a common occurrence at this level in these conditions is it's just the mental fatigue.
Yeah. So take care of business downwind and see what happens upwind.
I mean, you never know what the disc will do, but it can be relied upon for some things, and we can certainly rely on Discraft, the world leader in disc sports. That was actually, got some good distance on it. See, Perales, he goes for a huge flick, arcing it all the way. Well read and defended by Jer. Down on the opposite end, you can see Masterclass starting to mix it up a little bit, not sticking to tight O&D lines.
Who's that picking up the disc?
That is Jared O'Fergal, as he tries to launch one himself, but the timing of that one, by which I mean the wind had just started howling again, and when it's this kind of gusty, you really got to pick your spots. No one to dump them, no one to send them.
Yeah, I want to say that very few people are going to be able to throw a flick huck. So you really got to, you really have to make that first throw, and then look for the second throw as a backhand to actually project it into the wind for a huck. So no one's going to throw a stand still flick huck.
Something that we saw Pulos do really, really well.
Yep.
Was the way he was able to set that up by pulling it across. So that was a lovely shot from Joseph Crinkley to Morgan Bambrace. Just to Joseph Crinkley. He's age 37, comes out of Sarasota, which I believe is that where American nationals are on sometimes, and that's the kind of windy conditions?
They used to be. They had an 18-year contract that that expired, and it was a lot of fun. That's where I had my first few nationals. That's where Double I won their nationals, but it was fun for the players, but terrible for the media and the spectators. And so San Diego now is definitely an ideal fit. It's much closer to an airport and much easier to access as a spectator.
As we now see Mark Early picking up the disc for Masterclass. Sending it down the line, that's Pierce, and he shoots it inside. Scoops up to Dylan Layton. This is much better by Masterclass!
That was definitely their best point.
By a considerable distance. Eventually wound up in Diogo Vargas, his hands. But I mean, it was 4 passes, open side the whole way.
Yeah, 4 great cuts, 4 great throws. Good for them.
So Diogo Vargas, the man who picked up that score, he started playing back in 2006, and actually stopped in 2012. Played occasionally, as you do. A lot of us put down the disc for a little while, just go with pick up for a bit. But he moved to Ireland back in 2018, and that kind of reawakened his interest in the sport. And I'm sure Masterclass, along with all of us watching at home, are very glad that he made that decision. And he wanted to give a shout out to his sporting hero, who is his brother, Pedro Vargas, that introduced him to the sport. Apart from being highly important in the development of Portuguese Ultimate, is also an amazing athlete. Yeah,
that's where he moved from. Cool.
Yeah, home city of Beja. Currently lives in Galway.
All right.
Yeah. And a shout out to his wife and his little daughter, who's turning 1 in just a few days, or turned 1 just a few days ago.
Beautiful.
That's just one of the great things about this division. You know, there's so much to celebrate. These people have like really lived their lives. They got the fans at home, everybody cheering them on, and especially, I know from personal experience with Masterclass, but you can also just know from reading the profiles of some of these players, they've contributed so much to their respective communities, and it's always great when we get a chance to give people their flowers that they so richly deserve. And much like flowers, hopefully they will grow in the rain. Perales picking it up. Looking. Now, do you think he's just going to go for a big hook, or he might center it?
I would see him throwing a big flick or a hammer.
Oh, and what a goal by Bjorn. Sends it screeching over. That is beautiful. Completely across to the front of the end zone. Right there knocking on the door is Crinkly. He wants his second assist of the game, and he gets it. Really nice stuff.
That's exactly what I would have done. So while the wind is downwind to our right, obviously, it's also a little bit across the field. And so to me, as an aggressive thrower, that just seems like a kind of an easy hammer. And so I would...
it's a very American point of view.
And I know Perales, and so like, yeah, I saw that hammer kind of coming.
Very fair. And the man who wound up getting that score in the end, that is David Vatz, based originally out of Pittsburgh, currently lives in Pittsburgh as well. He's been playing since 2001, so one of those people who's come down to pick with Woolly Mammoth. Huge amount of club experience. And his career highlight, he says, is making college nationals in 2005, the first year Pitt made nationals in his freshman year. And then another one was being one of the top scorers at USAU Club Nationals in 2014. He, 3 scores out of 8, so
not bad.
Out of 7 so far. I mean, he might be one of the highest scorers at this tournament too, Bjorn.
Yeah, that's great. And Pitt, who has gone on, it's great that he was, he basically started the waterfall. Now that Pitt is a absolute powerhouse in college ultimate. 2 of my teammates, Tyler DiGirolamo and Alex Thorne, great friends, and they were part of that. And yeah, just pretty cool to be a part of that.
Oh, and that was O'Fergal going with something that I consider fairly synonymous with him, the high release backhand. It floated a little bit too long, but on the opposite end, Martin Kelly, man comes out of Cork.
He got a little injury right here in the near court.
Well, we hope he is okay, as the help's just going to come on and check it out. But on the opposite side, where we can see there was a little bit of contention over that play on the disc, it seems to have been an uncontested foul between the 2 of them, so Martin Kelly is going to get to pick it up once play resumes. I feel like he sat under that one for a little bit too long, but in the end it worked out for him. We're going to have another look at the pass across the pitch. So that's O'Fergal. And that's just a situation you never want to be in, because I don't know about you, but I have like an internal clock which is just slowly going like, and that's no, that's too long. Somebody's coming now.
Yeah, yeah. You Thorough kind of hung him out to dry there, and I don't even think the defender thought he had a chance, but the fact that it hung out for so long, he just had to try.
No, yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah. the defender was completely willing to just sit, but then he had to go get it.
So here comes Martin Kelly. Kelly, he has Fanning in the middle of the pitch. Fanning clears out down the line. So Kelly's going to have to fight. And under a lot of pressure, Beattie gets down low and comes up with the disc, swings around. Now that is a fantastic recovery. That's Kelleher. Currently plays with Ranelagh, and he's got a beautiful flick on him. He's thrown many in this arena before, and add that to the sizable tally. And O'Fergal for the score in the end zone.
Good throw. There's only so much I don't know. They were more patient than I thought they would be going into the wind. Like, when I have this wind behind me, I would have shot it way before that just to not take the chance. But they took a couple patient swings, and it really paid off for the one-on-one matchup. And the great thrower with a great throw.
Darryl Kelleher's got one of the snappiest flicks in the game. Just show a little bit more love to John Beattie, because that was fantastic under so much pressure to get that under, get up and immediately continue with the swing. Beautiful shot by Kelleher all the way down there. And O'Fergal is still trying to get used to saying his full name when you spend your whole life calling someone by their abbreviated first name. Droid O'Fergal, it's been everywhere for them. Assisting, scoring, running that offense, picking it up on the sideline, which is just about the least desired position to be in these kinds of conditions. So Masterclass finding their feet a little bit here, Bjorn?
A little bit. I mean, just like we said, they're holding going downwind, and that's all you can do right now until they. We'll see if they can ever. I'm sure that Florida will turn it. Can they score into the wind? That'll be the big testament to this big test of this game.
So once again, you see Fanning going on Perales. Not that it really matters. What a throw! Just straight through the gap of the big man and straight down into the end zone. Really nicely done.
Perales is every bit as good as I remembered him 10 years ago when we played against each other. Yeah, just a class handler. The last time I played him, I think he was playing with Chain. He was a veteran with Chain, and which is an Atlanta team, and they poached him away from Florida just for his hucks, just to beat us on double wide, and he absolutely puts it. He knows how to throw.
Chain Lightning, the Atlanta club team. That's a name that rang out a lot in the noughties and made something of a resurgence in the 10s. From what I know, from the little bits of American Ultimate that drip through to us, is now we see half at 8-4, and we are going to send you to some messages.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, Ultimate TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
our
our work to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
Welcome back, everybody, to the second half of the second game on the first day of World Masters Ultimate Club Championships 2022 here in sunny Limerick, as we see Masterclass Ultimate, largely based out of Dublin but with pickups from across the Emerald Isle, battling against Woolly Mammoth, those ferocious beasts out of South Florida.
Right, we saw Woolly Mammoth actually score into the wind several times, and they had a great pull this direction, so we'll see if they can just continue their dominance.
And you can see there just how difficult it is. The wind is getting more and more aggressive and is going to influence defenses. Perales looking for options. That's a beautiful scooper all the way up the top, and Pierce gets through and interferes. That would have been my favorite score so far, but great defense by Pierce. And we were talking about this in the first half, and I think one of the big things about playing upwind is picking your spots and playing with the weather, because you can get those short little dumps and those dinks off under a lot of pressure. It takes a lot of effort, but just waiting, reloading until you feel the wind go down and then hit for something bigger is Mark early.
Right, it's about, I mean, at this level of wind, you really have to throw a backhand. No matter how good your flick is, it's about finding that backhand. So getting to the right side of the field, nursing that mark over, and trying to throw a backhand.
So we see early, oh, that stall count's getting high. He's going to have to launch something, and a bunch of people underneath it. As you can see there, it's so hard to just keep it flat. Even when you're releasing it with the flick, getting torque on it and keeping it flat are two things you can almost never do simultaneously, as Perales picks it up. He is just such a danger with that disc. Maybe going for another scuba. Nope, that's the backhand down the line. Chernovsky, and into the corner comfortably for David Batt's 5th score of the game.
I might have said Chernovsky was the clear fittest man on this field, but as it stands, I'm going to go with Batts now. He seems to be downfield doing everything.
Batts has been incredibly impressive at just finding that space in the finishing third and getting free, because I think that's the third time we've seen him score in that corner, within that small little area.
Right, and even though you say it's like, okay, it's easy to score downwind, as a receiver, there's really not that many options. So to consistently beat your defender to that, you know, prescribed area is not easy, because everybody knows where you're going. So the fact that you're still able to do it is pretty impressive.
These are sneaky people putting their years of experience.
Sneaky woolly mammoths, as you know, they're known for their sleight of foot.
Notoriously stealthy animals.
Yeah.
So how do you know if a woolly mammoth has been in your fridge?
How do you know, Lorcan?
Well, there's hair in the butter. As here come Masterclass coming down in the opposite direction. Diogo Vargas gets it back into the middle. This is the smooth play, and we have seen them really play well and comfortably. Kevin Timoney back into the middle. Vargas launches that one deep, and he sends his receiver on something of a run. David Perry was chasing after it, but it just doesn't have that float, and you're really going to struggle to put some significant float on there.
It wasn't a bad look with this wind. It was immediately shot down, though. But it was perhaps a good punt. So now they have the wind at their back, and they're going to play good defense.
That's certainly the plan, as we have seen the Woolly Mammoths throw some shots from down there. But Lieberman just settles for getting it back into the middle, and then trying to go for that cut there. There's potential. Callahan, really great effort to try and keep that alive by the Mammoths, but right on the end zone line. As Masterclass look to just keep putting in these downwinds until the opportunity to strike comes back to them. It's Walkenauer gets it into Leighton, and Leighton with the quick spike.
They had no intention of throwing anywhere but 2 yards in front of the frisbee there. The rest of the stack was not doing anything. So they were going to throw it to that guy or no one.
It was an executive decision. And you can see as they come on, the coat swapping, trying to keep warm. It is a very realistic and difficult battle that teams will be facing all tournament long. The conditions starting to worsen, the rain starting to go ever so sideways. So it's really going to impact how these teams play. It shows you why you have to take your opportunities when they come, Bjorn. Woolly Mammoth sitting on that first half lead.
Right. It's still every score except for those early 2-1s by the Woolies have been downwind. So see if another opportunity presents itself, and hopefully Masterclass will be able to take advantage of it when it does present itself.
Now, there is an old saying that if you don't like the weather in Ireland, wait 5 minutes. And that's what Masterclass have to do. Hold on, take this game 5 minutes at a time. Shanovsky centers that one into the middle. Perales and across to Bambrace. Bambrace all the way down the line. That was absolutely magnificent. Dupel picks it up, searches for options, nothing immediately available. He's going to have to try and get that back. Really nice defensive coverage, but eventually he gets it to the form of Shanovsky. Shanovsky in the middle of the pitch, and that flick just always coming out the wrong direction. Looked like it slipped a little.
Oh, I didn't realize that was Jack Dupel. That's a guy I played against. He went to Texas A&M, Jack Dupel, in 18.
That was I'm a little bit curious about that shot from McAllister. If the receiver had been a bit more heads up to it, it did seem like the wind has died down for a brief second. Here's a chance to put some serious distance, but it didn't quite work out. Perales, big hammer again, arcing, floats up, but nobody anywhere near it except for McAllister. And then McAllister again, he's looking to launch some backhands of his own, as this is turning into something of a kicking game for those who are familiar with rugby. So then we see Carlton, and he goes for the quick pop. Shanovsky.
Rugby, is that like American football?
Yes, except played by men. As we see it back into the middle with Carlton. And Carlton looking. Still nothing really happening. Juno's putting a lot of pressure on, tempts him with the break opportunity. Very nicely done. Oh, no, we got a bit of contact. Uncontested.
It's like a little kick of the foot hit the thrower's hand.
So, tried to step across as if to put a bit more pressure on the open, the flick side, which is, again, is kind of feeding into what you've been saying all game, Bjorn, is you cannot let them have the backhands.
Yeah, never. It's like, as a defense, you just want every throw to be a flick and see where it lays. Because the maximum rotation possible with a backhand is so much higher than a flick, and
unless you're Perales and you can throw throws like that, the assist on that to Bambrace was sensational.
Yeah, the maximum rotation on a backhand is so much higher than a flick that it creates so much more stability. So, yeah, you really have to force a flick.
And it can be very difficult. A lot of the power from a flick, that snap comes from your grip. And obviously in this weather, you're going to really struggle with grip. So if you need grip for your game, friction gloves, be prepared for rain, humidity, cold, wind, and more. That's friction gloves. As we see Woolly Mammoth go 10-5 up on Masterclass. Balancing it out, they opened the game with the offensive hold upwind, and I believe since they've gotten 2 upwind breaks as well.
Right, you made note how exceptional it was that they started on offense and went into the wind and got it, and that really set the tone for the whole game. So yeah, they can't be understated how bold that was to go into the wind on offense. So good for them.
Got a lot of respect for that move, but you can show how much faith Woolly Mammoth have in their own players. And a nice rolling pull. Again, these are great pulls given the conditions. So Fergal, and that's another one of his patented backhands to McAllister. In the middle, McAllister thinks about launching it. He sees Fanning instead, the smooth, delicate pass. And Fanning, middle of the pitch, completely unmarked. We got a bit of a poach. His defender takes his time coming out of the forest to find him, and Fanning lets him come before launching the big, arcing backhand. And once again, it lands in the awaiting arms of Gerard O'Fergal.
Great throw. Really took advantage of the fact that no mark. Just for all the viewers at home, remember that there's no time limit if you don't have a mark. You have to be within 3 meters to count. So without someone within 3 meters, you have an infinite amount of time to throw the Frisbee. So there he took his time, didn't panic, and threw a beautiful arcing backhand, which is the exact throw to throw in this type of wind. Nice and lofty, without too much edge, easy to read.
So O'Fergal has been involved in the majority of Masterclass's scores and is really showing his experience, but also his effort, because he starts off in the handling position quite a lot and keeps pushing, and that's why we see him on the opposite end so frequently. Another veteran of Brock back in the day, and he wanted to give a shout out to his fan at home, who is also his sporting hero, his wife Claire. So Claire, if you're watching, it's a shout out from Jer, who's putting on quite the performance. A lovely shot as well by Mark Fanning. I just want to give him some props, because that guy taught me how to play. Showed up in a suit. He was just after coming from interview to one of the first trainings I'd ever been in, and was just really tall all the time. But was also lovely, very friendly, really welcoming into the community.
He still plays pretty competitively with the young lads too. I think the last time I was in Ireland, I went to a training.
Last time you were in Ireland, eh?
Yeah, I tried to say it, look.
Ireland, look.
But last time I was in Limerick, I got to go to a training with Pelt and played with him.
He is still quite an important figure with Pelt, as he gets that back to Paralis on the sideline. Is he going to go for another ambitious hammer or a dump? There's the hammer! That's what we all wanted at home. That was smooth, but probably the wrong decision. Walkenauer was all over that in the defensive end. As he picks it up, he's looking for early, gets it to him. Woolly Mammoth seemed to be stepping off early, sends that down the line to Leighton. Leighton himself, this is much. Oh, it bounced out of the hands of Pierce.
Two great flicks into this wind, so it's a shame to waste them.
I said a huge shot going all the way back. Bambrace wastes no time, and Paralis decides to get on the other end despite the best efforts of a launched Walkenauer and Pierce.
Yeah, it's a shame to waste two great upwind, I think each 15 yards into the wind for the Masterclass, but to not, and a great backhand again. You just can't let those backhands off because they're just so smooth and so flat. And the rare
Paralis score.
Yeah.
It's again, as we see exactly what you're talking about, how smooth that backhand comes out. Pierce, maybe a little bit gratuitous. Walkenauer, slightly closer, but also probably is never going to get there. I like that ambition. I imagine his GP, if he's watching, doesn't. But just like you're saying, Paralis makes that cut, and it's very similar to what O'Fergal's doing as well, starting in that handler position, but keeps working, keeps running, and in the end collects the score for his efforts. So Brandon Paralis having himself a bit of a game, 2 assists, 2 scores. Very nicely done.
And here comes the big shooter, Pulos, with the pull. You can really see how he dips his shoulder and really drives with the body to put that disc down the field. And going 60 yards in this wind is no joke.
It's very impressive as early. Looks to just go 6 yards and is finding it difficult enough. Eventually finds Gutierrez. Gutierrez with a lovely shot all the way down, but Leighton. Okay, I was going to say misreads, but at the end of the day, I don't think anybody was getting to that, and no matter how literate you are. So now Pulos is going to walk down there, and we've seen him throw some fantastic shots, whether or not there's been a force on him. So it'll be interesting to see how Masterclass react. It appears that they've got Kevin Timoney.
Looks like they might do a little, they're worried about him throwing so much that they're going to do a little sag. So they're going to do a little zone, which is not a bad idea. And he still somehow throws it through.
I mean, in the end, it is collected by Walkenauer, but how he's getting those throws off as early goes for a hammer of his own. That might be perfect. Wow. Yes, it is. Phenomenal stuff.
Excellent throw. Excellent read.
Really well done by Masterclass. That's Mark Early throwing it to Kevin Timoney again. 2 actual historic rivals, as Mark Early would have been a mainstay of Brock and Kevin Timoney of Johnny Chimpo, if we're reviving decade-old rivalries. Of course, both played for Ranelagh. once Dublin started coming together. He actually, and this is very touching, Kevin Timoney has put down his sporting hero as Mark Earley because he believes he is the biggest contributor to Irish ultimate development, and honestly is the man who really, and this is true about Mark Earley, as the man who really was key in getting schools development and bringing ultimate to people, not waiting for them to find it on their own. Mark Earley really was a pioneer of that in the Irish ultimate community, and it's something we are all very grateful for.
That's awesome.
Yeah, really indebted to him, as you can see why. Like, look at that hammer. Thing of beauty.
It's awesome that our sport is still so young, even though it's, you know, here we are with cameras everywhere, but the sport is so young that we still have the foundational heroes with us and like standing hand in hand. So it's fun to be part of that.
That's something I'm loving about this whole WMUCC, is the way we get to celebrate these people. As we see Perales go for another one, that one's always drifting a bit too far, slipped out. And who else was he aiming for but Vats? Okay, so 11-7. Edgar really getting into it. Those are the kind of calls we want to hear.
He'll come in about 11 yards up, 11 meters up, pardon.
Thank you very much. Metric system. It just makes sense. Kelleher's trying to get free for Fanning. Fanning gets hand blocked, and that was understandable. I think that was very much baited by Shanufsky. Rare to see Fanning get hand blocked, though. That man can really step out wide. I think he had to keep it closer to the body because of the wind.
Right, because when you focus so much on rotation, you're probably keeping it tight to throw it inside.
There's Perales. And he's going to go. He thinks about the inside. He's starting to get frustrated. Instead, he just hangs one up there with some accuracy. Really nice shot. Thought it was speculative, but in the end, it was a certainty.
Probably would have done that just to start with. That was Dupel, I believe, with the catch. The Texas A&M graduate, good friend of mine. We were the same class in college, so he had to guard me, and he did it so poorly in college.
He actually says his sporting hero is Bjorn Shea, the guy in college who made him so ashamed of his defense that he actually started playing better. Real talk, his actual sporting hero is Kirk Gibson, his high school best friend.
Yep, yeah, he's from Florida, which is how he ended up on this team.
Also a big contributor to his local community. He coached USF and helped start the Tampa Bay Ultimate, TBU, and that runs their league, their pickup, and their club team. So really helping build up Tampa Bay Ultimate. And
he's a great guy. I think he did a lot of, done tons of summer camps to help spread the sport. Yeah, just an absolute stand-up guy. One of the nicest guys you'll meet. One of the guys who makes you really love Frisbee, how Frisbee started.
And that's something, like appreciating the origins of this sport as it continues to grow. And like you were talking about, Bjorn, it's amazing to see how far we've come. It's so vital that we never lose track, never lose sight, never lose touch of where we started. And while that is an easy thing to do now because you can literally play with them, it is something that I think as the sport continues to grow, we have to really focus on keeping alive, and something these kind of tournaments at the Masters level, the Grandmasters level, really celebrate and bring to the forefront through these matchups, as O'Fergal looks to continue his phenomenal game.
Absolutely. So they're going to take that at the brick because the pole was out of bounds. But just to remind everybody, the WFDF rules for the pull out of bounds, you can take it at the sideline where it goes out, or you can take it at the brick.
As we see a quick turnover, they were looking for it. Kelleher down at the end. That's all bouncing, bobbling, bopping, somehow winds up in the end in the hands of Jesse Lieberman. He gets it back to the sideline, Pulos, and he goes for a rare flick, and that's going to be a turnover. Maybe he should have thrown the contested backhand hook.
Yeah, it was odd.
So, still staying with it, still trying to stay close, 12-7. I mean, it's a 5-point gap, but in real terms, it's 3 upwind breaks. That's O'Fergal. Having a little bit of a discussion. Something I love is those American Star Spangled Banner sleeves. I know I shouldn't. I know they're meant to be like tacky and stuff, but just as just barefaced pride, you know. O'Fergal, he wants that high release backhand. Yeah, and he steady goes for the around flick, and it just drops.
That was a great throw. Just didn't time it right, but absolute great throw. It's like Pulos is going to call the foul there. Maybe a shove from behind.
I think his feet got tangled up with Martin Kelly's. Martin Kelly, coming out of Cork, actually was the founder of the Waterford IT Ultimate Team. Tried to get that going for a few years. Always a difficult thing to start your own club, varsity or club level. Veteran of Rebel for many years, and quite an accomplished graphic designer as well. As Pulos once again scoops it under the leg, is gotta be Kelleher, and he collects that one as if it was a ball, which is rare. As now we start to see a bit of movement downfield. That's Kieran McGavon. Oh, that's gonna come back, I believe, for a call.
You almost see what Pulos is doing. It's like, I don't want to say there's such a thing as an upwind punt, but he's just taking the chances because he has the ability to put something flat out there. And so while there's only maybe a 20% chance, that's much better than anything else. So he puts it out there flat and just hopes that a receiver comes down with it. And if not, well, then they're in the same position they just were. So it's not a big deal. So yeah, Pulos' ability to throw a flat backhand at any time is a pretty cool weapon in this wind.
So you see Kieran McGivern representing the West Coast, I should say specifically the West Coast. Old Rebel teammates Kelly and Fanning. Down the line, Fanning's looking for options. Stolkan's getting high. He eventually sees it down there and gets it for the score to McAllister. Nicely done.
And yeah, so the Masterclass just still holding on to that wind, and we'll see. Perhaps this is the one that they punch into the wind. That's what we can really hope for, and we'll see what kind of great pull they get, and they're gonna hopefully punch it into the wind and make this quite a match.
Fanning, you can see him directing traffic. Get out, there we go. And McAllister, who's just been popping up throughout this game for Masterclass, having quite a performance for himself. I want to give a little special shout out to Kieran McGavon, who we saw get the disc there and was playing for a bit, because we don't have too much Western Coast representation on this Masterclass team. It's a lot of Dubliners, because that's kind of where the sport started, originated, spread out. So obviously when you're starting to first develop Masters teams like the Irish community is, there's going to be a lot of focus on that part of the country, but we still have talent coming from all over as well. There's now Masterclass with a nice rolling pull. They get it past halfway and it comes back. So
we'll see Perales pick it up, the steady handler, downwind handler.
Huge shot to a completely unmarked in the end zone jack to pull.
Yeah, that's the Texas A&M graduate that I was speaking of. Great receiver in his own right. Went to nationals with Texas A&M, and yeah, forgot to guard him. So when you're 6'3", you're an easy target.
So that was a bit of a blown coverage and perhaps a blown opportunity for Masterclass, as it is now 13-8. We can see here, he's the third time Perales has done this in his game. Just pick up the disc, one shot, one score, one opportunity, and he captures it. He does not let it slip, which is difficult in these conditions.
Well, he's got those friction gloves on, which are that provide the grip for your game. Be prepared for rain, humidity, cold, wind, and Ireland.
There's not many things that can prepare you for Ireland. So, you got to add that to your shopping list. Something else that can really help you with these conditions is Greatest, the #1 bag designed by and for Ultimate players. I know from personal experience that thing has the water resistance of a small arc and is a very welcome addition to any player's inventory as they make their way around the wet and wild North Europe.
Greatest bag is about 1 Lorcan size because I was able to fit Lorcan completely within my greatest bag. That's how big it is. And
how cheap we are when we travel. As we see Masterclass get it down to Pierce. Pierce looks to keep the good times going to Leighton, a huge bid, but Leighton holds his nerve and just allows the soaring figure of Thomas Bobango to go past him.
Pierce was throwing that no matter what. I'm glad it worked out for Masterclass.
Quick and easy, and this is understandable as the game progresses. They've been out here for a while. They're just looking to power through some of these points, convert some of these scores. Dylan Leighton has been on the receiving end a few times and has proven himself to be quite an accomplished receiver for Masterclass.
I wonder, now that Masterclass is up against the wall here, they really don't have much time left. It's 13, so only 2 points left. If they're going to try anything quirky with defense, maybe, I don't know, throwing a zone downwind or just something to mix it up, because you gotta generate turns.
Draw from the depths of their collective knowledge and experience and just find something. Maybe they go for another zone, but this time don't blow the coverage on the deep shot from Paralis, who surely at this point you just have to assume is going for that every single time. And they've all been flicks as well from him, which makes it even more difficult because he gets them off so quick. And like you say, as a defense in these conditions, traditionally, you're fine with the flicks. Perhaps not with paralysis.
They got paralysis.
They're frozen in fear by the dangers of this lethal weapon. As there comes a huge arcing flick hook out of Van Brace's hands. Kelleher's there to try and close it off, and you love that ambition by Chernovsky.
Chernovsky is an absolute weapon downfield. He closed that ground very quickly.
I thought there was no chance he was getting anything there, and he gets a fingertip to it. That was Kelleher to Kylie. Kelly in the middle of the pitch now. Kelly, O'Fergal. And there's going to be a...
Chernovsky reminds me of Goose Helton in both his build and his haircut.
There's a deep cut for everybody as McGavon looks to get the throw back to O'Fergal. Fergal. And this is smoother from Masterclass. And there's the commentator's curse. Just coming right back at you. Pralis gets that one across, maybe a little bit too physical. Carlton is going to be calling foul on O'Fergal, uncontested foul. So Carlton front of the end zone, looking to pop this one in quickly for the Woolly Mammoths. Carlton, smoothly done, and who else but Chernovsky?
Yeah, the way he popped down to his knees right there, that was pretty smooth. Like a great goalie or something. That was great. So I mentioned Goose Helton. Goose Helton actually started in Florida. The first time I ever played Goose was on a team with Paralis. And Goose was Paralis' main target. And Goose clearly went on, and there you see another Chernovsky goal. Very athletic, very limber, popping down. Great break by number 99.
Andrew Carlton getting
Carlton.
that nice little round low, which is tough in these conditions. But as you were saying, so Paralis has quite the history of big athletic receivers.
Correct.
As most people with accomplished throwing repertoires aim to do.
Yeah, Paralis, Jack Dupel saying Kurt was one of his mentors. One of the first times the first time I ever played Kurt, Paralis was the one hucking him the disc. And I was the one trying to guard Kurt and getting scored on. And so Paralis has thrown beautiful flicks into my face forever.
Well, I imagine you join a litany of players who Kurt Gibson has scored on. As we see, as we can hear the discussion.
So it looks like they're
with WFDF rules.
So he's going to take it right at the sideline as opposed to the brick. You can either take it at the brick or you can take it at the sideline.
That's it. As O'Fergal, that is a beautiful backhand break. He's got McAllister. He's got people coming. McAllister stands strong, gets big and pulls it down, pops it back into the middle of the pitch in the waiting hands of Kylie. Kylie thinks about the break twice, goes for it on the second attempt and gets the score. Is that McGavon? I think it, nope, sorry. Forgive me, that was Niall Toher who gets the score. So really nice recovery from Kylie. Able to refocus after the last point. These are not easy discs to collect.
Not at all, not at all. But now we've been waiting for Masterclass to score into the wind all game, and now it's now or never.
This is their last chance to do it. As we have another look. That's McAllister. Really impressive grab. And Kylie with the strong hands as that disc was always rising, always risking, turning into a turnover. And I don't know about you, but I rarely trust the double pump.
The double
on the
pump.
flick. So there's a difference, I think, between a fake and a double pump on a flick where you're just like, okay then. As opposed to try and trick people.
As a receiver, for sure, like I would have given up. I would have gone the other way and run away. Because I think that's like, I know in the U.S. where I've learned, it's like if someone pumps you that hard, you're supposed to get out.
Yeah, that's what that means. That means get out. That nice effort, not interested.
I like you as a friend, but not as a receiver.
Perales once more, he's looking for it, but this time Leighton is wise. On the fourth attempt, the charm rubs off. The game advisor going to get the disc. That's very
very nice of him.
Understandably so, as Walkenauer
but
comes
not
to
that
pick
nice.
it up.
But not that nice.
There's only so far he can bring it before it becomes bad spirit. Walkenauer, he's going to look to center that to Early. Early gets it. He's got Pierce in the middle, doesn't like the look of it. Stay tries to arc that one around. And I believe that's going to be counted as a catch for Vargas.
Looks like a non-contested foul on the catch.
Yeah,
little bumpage.
Some things do go bump in the afternoon. So Vargas. It's just about every element howling at him right now. Skims it. High, there's a lot of float, but really well taken down by Beattie. Or Walkenauer, sorry. Spreads it out wide. And another drop. Unfortunate.
I think the receiver there was really, we talked to, wow.
Somehow
unreal.
Perales keeps it. He's just about in. He's looking for a spot. He floats it. And that one drops to the ground before it can be collected, unfortunately.
Well, there's been 3 turns now, but I was going to say the previous one, when Masterclass was going in the wind, it looks like the receiver was thinking about the backhand that he was going to throw.
Huge effort by Vargas, but unfortunately it bounces out of his hands. And there's Vats. Can he get his first assist of the game to end it? And I believe that counts as poetic license. 5 scores, 1 assist. And that is the end of the game. 15-10 to Wooly Mammoth. In the end, it just came down to those upwind breaks in the first half. You've got to take your opportunities when they come, eh, Bjorn?
Yeah, I really think Pulos going into the wind and Perales' beautiful flat ones downwind were really the difference in this game. When you have this kind of wind, it's about that great maturity in the wind, and those two are elite wind players. So I think, yeah, the difference in the game was Pulos and Perales.
I'd have to agree with you, Bjorn. And we have got so much more action coming for you all week long. Those are just the 2 showcase games. The first 2 games that we put out completely free all week on the WFDF YouTube channel. You can also follow us through the socials as well, as we'll be putting up extra content there whenever we get the opportunity to. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you join us for these 2 matchups, and we welcome you with open arms to World Masters Ultimate Club Championships here in sunny Limerick, and we're just getting started, Bjorn.
Yep, bring your sunscreen.
Bring your sunscreen and your cheers, because these people are going to need all the support they can get as we battle through the elements. We will see you back here tomorrow bright and early at 9 o'clock. I have been Lorcan Murray. I've been joined by the wonderful
Bjorn Shea.
And we will catch you around the bend.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch,
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe. Ultimate TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
fund
our
our
work
work.
to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the ultimate world
And
and
beyond.
beyond.
Alti.tv.